Etair Annaischa. The general yoga process entails observing the rules and regulations, practicing the different sitting postures, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, right? That is what is being mentioned here. This is asan basically, sitting, different sitting postures, and concentrating the mind on the vital circulation of the air, and then thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Vaikuntha pastimes. Yesterday we saw the object on which mind should be concentrated is called Vaikuntha Dhyan or Vaikuntha Leela, right? Not on the void. This is the general process of yoga. This same concentration can be achieved by other recommended processes, and therefore Annaischa, other methods, also can be applied. The essential point is that the mind, which is contaminated by material attraction, has to be bridled and concentrated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It cannot be fixed on something void or impersonal. Our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, his pranam mantra itself mentions that, right? Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Destarane. So you have Nirvishesh and Sunyavadi. So to decimate these two unauthentic thought process or processes, for that only Srila Prabhupada basically appeared by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction. For this reason, so-called yoga practice of voidism and impersonalism are not recommended in any standard yoga sastra. Yeah. So in today's time, we see there are many unscrupulous or completely unauthentic or based on whims and fantasy of many people. They create, they label, they come up with new labels. Sometimes Sahaj Yoga, sometimes Sukha Yoga, also all sorts of things which are not standard. So any standard yoga system does not recommend focusing or even trying to practice voidism or impersonalism. The real yogi is the devotee because his mind is always concentrated on the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the topmost yoga system. Let's proceed with next verse. शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य विजितासन आसनं तस्मिन् स्वस्ति समासीन ऋजुकायः समभ्यसेत्. शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य विजितासन आसनं तस्मिन् स्वस्ति समासीन ऋजुकायः समभ्यसेत्. शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य विजितासन आसनं तस्मिन् स्वस्ति समासीन ऋजुकायः समभ्यसेत्. Word by word meaning. Shuchau Dese, in a sanctified place. Pratisthapya, after placing. Vijit asana, controlling the sitting postures. Asanam, a seat. Tasmin, in that place. Swasti samasina, sitting in an easy posture. Rijukaya, keeping the body erect. Samabhyaset, one should practice. Translation. After controlling one's mind and sitting postures, one should spread a seat in a secluded and sanctified place. Sit there in an easy posture, keeping the body erect, and practice breath control upward. Sitting in an easy posture is called Swasti Samasinaha. It is recommended in the yoga scripture that one should put the soles of the feet between the two thighs and ankles and sit straight. That posture will help one to concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This very process is also recommended in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter. It is further suggested that one sit in a secluded, sanctified spot. The seat should consist of deer skin and kusha grass topped with cotton. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapad Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. Like all verses of Bhagavatam, these two verses are also very important, and kindly Srila Prabhupada has given great, purpose, which always keeps us on the track. On the track means basically, not getting lost in the literal translation or literal word meanings, right? So that's the beauty of Srila Prabhupada. We never get misled by grammatical constructs, right? So let's see the deeper meaning. The sequence of verses. It's like Lord Kapila Devi is actually suggesting, informing her mother, his mother, Mother Devhuti, about this Ashtanga Yoga system, right? So we have like the processes which he has mentioned so far: Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, right? So in yesterday's verse itself, Lord has explained, and Srila Prabhupada further actually clarifies in the purport that real Samadhi means mind is always and fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, basically Krishna's pastimes, right? So that's a samadhi, not the sitting posture and external appearance of, that a particular person is thinking on something or absorbed in something. But internally, it's a more of an internal process that one is fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, Krishna's pastimes, right? Of course, the topmost examples are the gopis in Vrindavan, right? So throughout the day, when Krishna is not present, they are wrapped in thought of Krishna. They don't know how their regular household work is going on or is being performed by them. They don't know. And what to speak of gopis, even among the bhaktas, right, who actually mature to bhakti. Among them, we have the topmost example of Prahlad Maharaj, right? So about Prahlad Maharaj also it's mentioned. Asina paryatan asnan sayana prapivan bruvan nanu sandhatta etani govinda parirambhitaha. So he never knew or realized how his daily chores are being performed, or asina, like how he's sitting, asina paryatan, walking, sitting, walking, eating, drinking, or any such external functions of body. How is it performed automatically? He was not aware of his own bodily functions. Because why? Because he was always embraced by Krishna. So he was so much, absorbed in Krishna's pastimes that he used to feel Krishna's embrace. Krishna Vrindavan, especially, right? So he was so much absorbed in Vrindavan pastimes, Gokul pastimes of Krishna. So it's mentioned literally, not some Narayana pastime or Vishnu pastime. No, literally it's mentioned Govinda Parirambhitaha. So and suddenly, if you used to see that Krishna is doing something naughty or something which would make one laugh, then suddenly Prahlad Maharaj used to start burst with laughter. All this thing, he was fully absorbed. If we trace back, how did Prahlad Maharaj achieve that level, or how did he feel so much wrapped in attention? He was fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. How? Because the open secret is that when he was in the womb of his mother, Kayadhu, then he was brought by Narad Muni to one of his Narad Muni's friends, right? Different sages, ashram. Narad Muni doesn't have a permanent, ashram or some place to stay, cottage, permanent cottage. He keeps on traveling. So he brought to some of his, well-known sage friends, and Kayadhu was basically maintained there in those ashramas. And Narad ji himself or any of his great Vaishnava sage friends, they used to, narrate so many pastimes of Krishna, right? So that's the secret. And how long did Prahlad Maharaj actually listened to Krishna Katha in the womb? Around 36,000 years. So it's that's the figure it is put that Kayadu kept withheld Prahlad Maharaj in her womb, waiting for her husband, that is Hiranyakasipu, to come back. So till that time, 36,000 years, she was able to withhold Prahlad in her womb, and Prahlad Maharaj listened to extensive Krishna pastimes. So of course, he is one of the another, you could say. Actually, he is considered the Acharya of Smaranam. But that Smaranam can happen with it has a prerequisite. That is only when one has heard sufficiently, seen sufficiently, then only one will be able to remember those or contemplate on those things, right? So naturally, Smaranam has a prerequisite of Sravanam, right? So his Sravanam was extensive and over thousands of years, right? So that's why he was at the perfection of Smaranam. As Krishna says, basically in Bhagavad Gita itself, Bhakti Yoga chapter 12, right? 12.8 Mayyeva man adhatsva mayi buddhing nivesaya nivesesya mayyeva at urdhvam na sansaya. So he says, always engage your mind, and intelligence in me, right? So that is possible. That is a topmost example, right? Then Krishna says that you will come to me without any doubt. Yeah, if we invest or engage our mind and intelligence fully in Krishna, that's the perfection of any living entity, right? That's full Krishna consciousness, right? So Prahlad Maharaj was already at that level, and the reason was extensive hearing by topmost transcendentalists, that is Narad Muni and maybe his some of his context friends. Yeah. So let's come back to, with that top example, we will come back here. So here Lord is giving the, option by these processes, by fixing the life here in one of the 6 circles and all those things which were discussed earlier. So he says that by these pranayam processes or any other true processes itself means mentioned in true scriptures, right? So like we have authentic topmost literature like Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in even in Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, which is titled Dhyana Yoga, there it's mentioned, right, how to focus, with half closed eyes on the tip of the nose and all, concentrate mind and control the breathing process. All those things are mentioned. But even in those sections, Srila Prabhupada, when he translates, I was basically I felt laughing, not as a contempt, but as an appreciation, that a verse says about Dhyana Yoga, and Srila Prabhupada begins the purport by saying, in Bhakti Yoga, we do like this, right? Everything is possible. So why is that? Outside people might, comment on, they do comment, people who are not appreciative of Srila Prabhupada's books, they comment that Srila Prabhupada has changed the meanings, right? He has not actually changed. Srila Prabhupada has not actually twisted or changed. He has presented it the way central theme or the desire of Krishna, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? He is the Yuga Avatar, essentially, right? So he has established Krishna in the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has established the Harinam Sankirtan, which is the Yuga Dharma. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knows how it has to be presented to today's people, right? Today's time. And Srila Prabhupada has basically in his acts of translation or purport, any verse, anywhere, wherever Srila Prabhupada has translated, he has ensured that the mood of or mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is not lost, that is not dominated by some contextual grammar or some word meanings, verbatim word meanings, right? So Srila Prabhupada has ensured that the original mood of Krishna that is always conveyed, right? So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the introduction or I think preface of Bhagavad Gita that I have carried out the will of Krishna. That is the way Srila Prabhupada has presented the text, right? And what is essentially, we are trying to follow, that is called Bhagavad Dharma, right? Bhagavad Dharma is nothing but to attain Bhagavan, that is Sri Krishna, whatever process Sri Krishna has enunciated from his lotus mouth, we follow that. That as simple as that's the Bhagavad Dharma. And basically, if Krishna says that follow basically perform Harinam Sankirtan and basically chant Krishna's name, so we follow that, and that's the process. We should never feel attracted by by seeing some subtle or gross level accomplishment of some yogis, right? We should not feel that okay, these fellows, they are also so spiritual, they have so much potency, they can do this, that, right? We should never feel bewildered or even attracted by any small or big material material power, whatever they exhibit, right? And so we should never get distracted essentially or attracted, yeah, by any such mystic yogis, right? So the goal is to reach Krishna, and we follow basically the process which is basically elaborated and told by Krishna himself, right, in the form of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's the central what do I say, central axiom, right, or central theory here, right? Whatever Krishna has said, whatever path he has shown by personal example, he himself used to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and of course he used to cry, basically shed so much tears while chanting Krishna's name. Of course, we are not at, not all of us are at that level, but sadhana bhakti we have to follow as instructed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As simple as that, and not fall victim to any other allurements. Anyway, so here any other true process. True process means as simple as that, enunciated by Lord himself, right? So as simple as that. That's it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that we should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we chant and try to hear, mind automatically, the chitta, right, where the thoughts arise, that automatically basically will be in contact with Krishna, right? It will not wander here and there. Naturally, its mind's tendency is to go here and there, but we have to basically for many years when we are trying to improve our chanting, then we have to bring our mind back to hearing. Basically, we have to concentrate on each word which we utter of the Mahamantra, right? So here we can see now some of the details. One must control the contaminated, unbridled mind. Contaminated. Why is it contaminated? Because it is attracted towards material enjoyment. Why focusing on material enjoyment is considered contamination? Why? Because the natural constitutional position of the soul is to be in association of Krishna or any of the Vaikuntha planets, right? So that's the actual position, right? Jiva Sarupayar Krishnayar Nityadas, right? So that's the actual constitutional position, and if we deviate from that actual constitutional position, that is called contamination or deviation, right? So that's why if we remain engaged in material enjoyment, then we will remain in the material world forever, right? Birth after birth in different species. As 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita mentions, Purusah prakriti yasthohi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangovasya sadasad yoni janmaso. So we will keep on wandering from one life to another life if we try to, continue to enjoy matter, right? So that's actually deviation from the soul's natural situation or position. That's why it's called contamination also. Yeah. So we actually, if we want to release unlimited bliss and basically happiness, bliss is actually more suitable word, then we have to, put some effort, practice and train our mind, yeah, which is unbridled. We have to control it by force, yeah, by force, not like as in Hatha Yoga, but whenever mind wanders away from Krishna's name and topics, at least till the time when we spend time chanting our minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, during those hours, we have to again bring our mind back to, thoughts of Krishna. So this practice, basically, this practice is needed. Yeah. Yeah, the rules and regulations I had mentioned yesterday, I was discussing. Yeah, we do have to consciously follow some of the rules and regulations that is necessary in Bhakti Yoga also. We cannot be without any rules and regulations. We are not Avadhutas, or we have not, like most of us, I would think that we have not transcended the rules and regulations meant for Bhakti Yoga sadhana process. The simple test is whether we have transcended the sadhana rules and regulations is that are we all the time attracted spontaneously to hear Krishna Katha? Lord Kapil Dev mentions in previous chapters, Madgunu Surte Matrena Mai Sarva Guhasai. Oh, okay, so it comes actually in a later chapter. I think 29th, next chapter probably. Yeah, he basically mentions about bhakti in the three modes, and then finally the topmost, which is pure bhakti. In that he mentions Madgunu Surati Matrena Mai Sarva Guhasai Mano Vadgir Avichinna Yatha Gangam Bhasvam. Anyway, so are we spontaneously drawn to hearing Krishna's pastimes all the time whenever we are awake? No, not. It's not a basically condition 24 hours a day. Yeah, during some times, like when we are visiting temple, or we are in association with of some very very advanced devotees, and then we tend to like hearing Krishna's pastimes from them. But that's not our status 24 hours a day. That's not our inclination all the time. So that means that by as of now we have not transcended basically the rules and regulations. So we have to strictly follow that. And even otherwise, even when we have transcended the rules and basically actually we are at higher level, even then, to set an example, not to give any negative or any incorrect example, we still try to follow the rules and regulations of even Bhakti Yoga. For us, the rules are basically, the most important rule basically are following four regulative principles, and basically this ABCD, right? So this ABCD is actually, that remains the most important guiding principle throughout our sadhana bhakti life, right? Association, book reading, B for book reading, C for chanting, which is minimum chanting minimum 16 hours, and D for diet. So here association and diet, chanting of course we have to take care, but association is most important, not only during sadhana bhakti process, but even when we have matured in Krishna bhakti up to the level of prema. Even up to the level of prema, even at that level, association of sadhu is most important. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Krishna bhakti janma mula haya sadhu sangha, Krishna prema janmete ho punah mukhya anga. So the source, or what do I say, the genesis, the seed, or the enabling factor of Krishna bhakti when it takes birth, right? That is also sadhu sangha. Krishna bhakti janma mula haya sadhu sangha, Krishna prema janme teho punah mukhya anga. Even when Krishna prema develops, even then sadhu sangha is most vital. He is not saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not saying that it is good to have. He is saying teho punah mukhya anga. So association is most important from beginning Shraddha to even when we have reached Krishna Prem level. Yeah. So that's the thing. Without association of like-minded, and previous chapters it was mentioned actually. I think 26th chapter it was, or 27th chapter it was mentioned that we have to seek association of devotees who are like-minded or who are more advanced than us all the time, right? So that's the association which is actually meant here. Association, then book reading. Without regularly reading Srila Prabhupada's books, purports, not only translation but purports also, we feel that enthusiasm, that battery of enthusiasm, that goes down, right? So it is there somewhat, but it will dwindle, and then it will be difficult to enthusiastically chant. If we release more and more pastimes of Krishna by reading Srila Prabhupada's books or by hearing bona fide devotees, then our chanting also it draws some energy or enthusiasm from that. Yeah. So book reading and C for chanting, of course, that is the source. That is the main thing. ISKCON means, many acharyas say, ISKCON means chanting Hare Krishna and spreading Hare Krishna, right? So that's basically main thing. And then D for diet, right? So diet is like having only Krishna Prasad, depending only on Krishna Prasad. Yesterday also I was emphasizing on this, that I think everyone of us would have noticed it, that if we take something which is non-prasad, even if it is just fruit juice prepared in a shop, very clean hygiene is maintained, good hygiene is maintained, and if we take juice from there, we are thinking that it's a very sattvic, so okay, it's not contaminated. No, if it is not offered to Krishna, it has subtle effects, subtle or gross. It basically depends, right? So then it will have its toll. It will take its toll, and then it affects our progress, right? So that's why if we don't follow the four regulative principles, and especially this diet, especially most important diet, right? Yesterday also I was mentioning about that basically how much bhakti is negatively affected if we take something which is other than Krishna Prasad, right? And it's mentioned the famous verse, which I would again share for the sake of completeness. Atah Sri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriye sevon mukhe jehvado swayameva spritiyada, right? So basically the material blunt senses, they are not capable to capture Krishna or Krishna's pastimes, right? So beginning with tongue, we can actually be seva unmukh and Krishna unmukh, and then we will be able to actually capture or relish basically Krishna's name, form, Nam, Roop, Guna, Lila, right? Pastimes and paraphernalia, all the details. So prasadam is the most important. Just to let me share one small anecdote. So when during the time of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, so anyway we know he is called Sakshat Vairagya Murti. So once it happened that one of his visitors or acquaintance, right? So he found out, like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj found out that this person has taken some non-prasad, right? Of course, it must have been pure vegetarian and all that. But Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj cut off his communication with that person completely for 7 days. He simply did not talk to that person for 7 days because that person has taken non-prasad. So that's the level of importance acharyas actually give to actually depending on Krishna Prasad. Another incident which is so famous, we might most of us would know, during childhood of His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to be called Vimala Prasad, right? At that time, Vimala Prasad. So he mistakenly ate one mango, which was actually out of many mangoes, which were brought by his father, His Divine Grace, Sachidanand Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur, admonished or scolded or instructed his son that how could you eat something which has not been offered to Krishna. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur took the vow of never eating mango in his remaining life, right? And he followed that. Anyway, those are the topmost examples, but we get the import, right? That if we depend only on Krishna Prasad, then progress is it's basically unimpeded, right? We just linearly grow, right? In our bhakti advancement, actually we advance very nicely. Yeah, and these actually incidents like eating non-Krishna Prasad, that actually trips us on our progress, right? And then we again, it takes some time, days or whatever, then only we regain our speed or whatever in our progress, right? Bhakti Yoga progress. So that's what, like I mentioned, ABCD, all are forever important. Not that once we transcend, once we reach the level of Nishtha, then we don't need to focus so much. No. Automatically, then it so happens that we are more and more aligned actually with ABCD, essentially. Association, book reading or hearing, and chanting and diet. So basic test is, if we ever feel impeded, that means we would have violated one of the basic principles, right? Or we would have neglected one of the basic principles. That's the basic thing. Spirituality is a science, and in science, one of the parameters in any experiment that is compromised, the result is also similarly proportionately compromised. So now we will see further some of the points from the purport. This same concentration can be achieved by other recommended processes, and therefore Anyaischa can also be applied, right? The essential point is that the mind which is contaminated by material attraction, right, has to be bridled and concentrated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, even though intelligence is higher than mind, but we can notice actually, that in almost entire scripture, whether it's Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or Chaitanya Charitamrita, I wouldn't be able to conclusively say about Chaitanya Charitamrita, but at least in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, I have seen focus is always given on controlling the mind. It's not mentioned that, control your intelligence. No, intelligence is very closer to soul, and mind is below intelligence. Senses are below mind, but even then, mind is considered as a central factor. Mind is the place where the thoughts come, right? Thinking, feeling, willing, but the thought process originates. The chitta, right? In Hindi or Sanskrit, the word is called chitta, where vichara, like all the thoughts, they come up, right? So it's always mentioned that mind should be controlled. The reason is the force of mind is very strong. So if mind is uncontrolled, it becomes so like powerful or uncontrolled that it carries away the intelligence also. That is what actually Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, right? And in those pictures, basically description of the pictures. So mind is the central place actually which needs to be controlled. And in by practicing mind, we actually are able to basically control our senses. So that top example is always there in Bhagavatam, right? That is Ambarish Maharaj. Sorry. Savai Mana Krishna Padarvindayo. Yeah, Vachanse Vaikuntha Gunanuvaranam. So he always engaged his mind, right, in thoughts of Krishna, right? So anyway, that is the top example. But nevertheless, whatever time we spend in our daily sadhana life, and in our sadhana schedule, during that time at least, we have to put an effort, conscious effort to, always, be mentally present. That's what also we say, right, in classes, that not only be physically present, but be mentally also present. Again, it's not said intelligently present, mentally. Mind is again the central thing, a central, actually, the entity which actually needs to be trained. So we will see. For this reason, so-called yoga practices of Vaidism and impersonalism are not recommended in any standard yoga shastra. Actually, Acharya Srila Prabhupada have also actually mentioned that if someone, pretends or says that he or she is able to concentrate or, focus on void and Nirakar Brahman, right? That is a very, very it's a most likely it's a false thing in the sense that the person doesn't know that he or she is actually being cheated in the name of focusing on void. By nature, Chaitanya, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? They were right. Kleso adhiktaras tesam avyakta sakta chetsam, right? Like that. So it's a very difficult, it's a very painful and struggling process for any dehadhari, for any embodied living being to follow that path, right? Thinking on void and all that, right? Nirakar, impersonal Brahman of impersonal aspect of Krishna, right? So that's not voidism, that's an impersonalism, yeah. But anyway, Krishna doesn't recommend that at all. So why to go through the churn of something which Krishna himself has declared openly that it's very troublesome? We just some people or even majority of people who are not well versed with what is the easiest path or basically easiest spiritual path, and which would give result. If people are not aware of this, people are attracted by something complicated. That's the nature of people. If you try to convince someone who is not at all aware of the bhakti process, if you try to convince that person that just by chanting Krishna's name you can basically be the topmost spiritualist, right? You can achieve the highest perfection, right? Then they will basically they will argue. They would say that bas itne se, only this much is sufficient. How is it possible? You are just uttering some words. How is it possible to be perfect in spirituality just by uttering some syllables or words? Because they have not experienced or they have not gone through the process. They just, speculate, and they have a tendency to go through some complicated route. Some people have that tendency. If you just tell them that this straight line will take you, they always they look for some complicated process, which is, not only complicated but little troublesome. Then they have a sense of, achievement. Yeah, I was in Himalayas. I met such and such person, and by following this process, I was freed from effects of cold and heat and all those things. They just want to, have a sense of some, achievement which others cannot have, something like that. And there are so many means regions. I cannot speculate on all that, but the point is, some people they prefer complicated and non-straightforward route. Yeah, Bhakti Yoga is so basically simple and enjoy relatable. Krishna says, "Susukham kartum avyayam," right? Ninth chapter Bhagavad Gita, right? Raj Vidya Rajgohya Pavitram Idam Uttamam, like Pratakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukham kartum avyayam, right? It is imperishable. Like whatever effort we have put, that is never lost. And it's while performing this Bhakti Yoga process, it's basically it gives bliss, right? Happiness. So let's see some points from the 8th verse, right? This is Suchau Dese Pratisthapya Vijitasana Asanam Tasmin Swasti Samasena Rijukaya Samabhyase. Yes. So while we perform our sadhana bhakti, right? So that time we have to be at least in a comfortable situation, right? So that if our body is trained, we will not be able to focus on Krishna's name, or if we are hearing Krishna's pastime, we will not be fully able to focus on that if we are in a non-comfortable situation. Yeah, so it has to be a balance, right? We can't be lying down on bed and saying that this is the most comfortable position and then try to chant, yeah, or hear. Then we will fall asleep. That's not recommended. But sitting in a comfortable posture, that posture might vary from person to person because everyone's physiology is different. Yeah? I cannot sit cross-legged on the floor. I have some issues, right? So I cannot be, imitating all the other devotees who are chanting, sitting on the floor on some mat, and they are very nicely seated in Padmasana or Sukhasana posture, and I cannot be imitating that. I cannot do that. So instead of unnecessarily straining myself, I would rather pick a seat where I can be seated comfortably and basically follow the chanting process or whatever hearing process, right? So yeah, one thing is important here, keeping the body erect. That is important in whichever posture we basically, whether we sit in Padmasana, Sukhasana, or on a chair, we have to keep our body erect as much as possible. That helps in being attentive. So that that's important or helpful. Yeah, if we are bent on our back, then we get tired faster. Yeah, that's one thing. It's not something strictly about following the Ashtanga yoga process, yogic posture, but it's a normal physical thing. So cleanliness is important. Where we chant, it has to be reasonably clean. Yeah, that's important. And whether we are chanting or hearing, that has to be conducted in a place where it's clean, actually. Yes, Srila Prabhupada used to say, and all acharyas say, that cleanliness is actually next to godliness, right? Yeah, so that's important. Now, finally, coming to here, yeah, the objective is, again, it will help one to concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So basically, last thing, the seeds should consist of deer skin and kusa grass topped with cotton. Yeah, but this is, if this is possible, good, but this is not the enabling factor for bhakti. I mean to say, it's not that if I don't sit on kusa grass, topped with cotton, or if I don't sit on deer skin, then I will not be able to perform devotional service. No, that's not correct, right? But for pujaris, whatever specific items like the floor mat or anything is required, for them it's a different thing. That is for the sake of purity. But enabling, our mind, basically we cannot say that unless we have this kind of asan, we will not be able to perform devotional service. That's not correct. So yeah, means whatever practical arrangement we can have, we could we should utilize that. And basically any clean chair or clean mats are there, we can either sit there on the chair, and we could actually be focused in hearing the chanting or hearing Krishna Katha properly, right? So these are details. In today's time, it's this arrangement, this type of deer skin and kusha grass possible, but deer skin very rare, actually, right? So these are all, the objective of that was that, it repels, insects and other things, yeah, deer skin and all this thing. Yeah, it repels, ants and insects and other things, yeah. But if we are seated in a clean place, then anyway, the purpose is served. We don't need to be too much bothered about that. We don't have this deer skin and kusha grass. Yeah. Main thing is being able to follow, being able to hear whatever, Hare Krishna Mahamantra syllables we are uttering. We have to hear that. Yeah. So these are the only enabling factors. And we never saw Srila Prabhupada, following pranayam process separately. Yeah. And to control his mind. No. Srila Prabhupada is, of course, a special personality sent by Krishna, but we have not seen any other successful chanters also, nice devotees to be sitting on, sitting alone and sitting on deer skin and kusa grass. Main thing is the willingness or the desire to actually chant Krishna's name. That's the main thing, right? And that desire also develops by seeing very advanced and pure devotees, right? The top devotees, good devotees, they inspire us, and it is the inspiration, drawn from their actual behavior that actually, encourages or inspires us to chant or do any other forms of devotional service, right? So that is what is important. If our acharan, our own behavior or practice is good enough, then we will be able to inspire others to take up devotional services. So yeah, these processes are mentioned like enabling factors in Ashtanga Yoga, but some of them are helpful, like in our Bhakti Yoga process also, like sitting erect, sitting in a clean place, all these things, right? Yeah, but the actual mechanism or actual method to absorb our mind in Krishna, that is through the medium of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and hearing Krishna Katha from very progressive devotees. So these are the two main mechanisms, rather than following the pranayam process in today's time. Someone would say, isn't it helpful if we are performing pranayam? It will definitely help us like that. Why shouldn't we perform that? The thing is, it's automatically achieved if we put our faith in Srila Prabhupada's words. Then those focus of mind is automatically achieved, and all other things, earlier verses like verses 1, 2, 3, 4, up to that it was mentioned that one should practice celibacy and so many other things, right? And not refrain from stealing tendency, essentially hoarding too much, right? All that thing yesterday also I mentioned. All the positive qualities will automatically develop, without separate endeavor, if we perform Krishna Bhakti properly, nicely, right? As it is mentioned in the very advanced stage or pure stage, all the good qualities, they manifest in the person of in the body of that person who is, performing very nice Krishna Bhakti. Yeah, just asti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. Now, the thing is, someone might ask that, are we at that level right now? If we are not at that level right now, right? We are not pure devotees. Like, at least I am definitely, I have a huge scope for improvement in my sadhana also. The question is, till the time we reach, very advanced stage, can't we follow any of the pranayam and other asanas, right? So Srila Prabhupada has never demonstrated, never openly encouraged that we follow this. So I would still say that, being the Srila Prabhupada being the preeminent Shiksha Guru of ISKCON, right? So we have to, put this much faith in Srila Prabhupada's words that follow Srila Prabhupada's examples and instructions, right? Especially instructions, that just by chanting sincerely and performing in kirtan process, right? Have we seen during any festival in temple or maybe any other, blissful program in some devotee's house, when devotees assemble there, and kirtan is going on very nicely, or Krishna Katha is being discussed very nicely, sincerely, right? Without any ulterior motive, without any ulterior motive of pujala pratishtha, right? So if that is happening in that scenario, in that situation, in that place, do we have to endeavor separately to our, to focus our mind on Krishna? No, we don't need separate endeavor in during those times, right? And those places, those occasions, right? So that's a proof actually that we don't need. That's why association is so much important. On a daily basis, we have to, always struggle, or we have to basically put an effort to, even talk to some devotee on some spiritual matter, right? So staying near the temple is very helpful. Otherwise, in our family itself, we have to basically have some reserved time where together more than one person, they have to actually discuss some of the things. So that way it will be very helpful, and we wouldn't need any separate pranayam course or any other thing. It's automatically possible. That's the faith we have to put in Srila Prabhupada's words. And it happens actually, right? When ecstatic kirtan is going on, again I'm repeating the same thing, right? When ecstatic kirtan is happening, we are completely lost and absorbed into that, right? To the holy name of the words of the holy names or the Vaishnava Acharya's bhajan, right? We completely get into that, right? That mood or whatever, right? Whichever bhajan is sung, right? We completely get submerged, right? So that time, that's the proof, right? That we don't need, in today's time, we don't need separate pranayam course or separate yoga course, anything. Topmost yoga is anyway bhakti yoga. So if we invest our time full, like as much time is available to individually, to us, that if we invest our entire available time in bhakti yoga, which is the topmost investment, then we will get the maximum return, right? We don't need to, artificially invest some time in yoga and asana and pranayam. So that's the central theme I wanted to emphasize, following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. That's it. That's all I had to say. I wanted to say. If there is any question, devotees could ask. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I hope it was audible clearly.
Yeah, it was very, very clear. Thanks a lot. Prabhuji, what I understood is the mind should be always be engaged, like otherwise, like empty mind is devil workshop. It should be engaged in Krishna's like chanting and listening and doing sevas and other things. Otherwise, the mind is very difficult to control. I'm right, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, you perfectly put it.
Yeah. So normally, Prabhuji, my question is like, even if you do some service, it's okay. That the time the mind will be controlled. Otherwise, the negative thoughts and other things keep popping in. So how do we manage that?
That's the fundamental question many devotees keep asking. So my question also. This is my question also. But anyway, what I have seen practically in my own life, that is what I will try to share. What happens when I'm working from home or from office, either way, right? So in between, see, I cannot focus on work for more than 20 minutes in one stretch. Then I feel distracted. So then sometimes, not all the time I do this, but sometimes when my mind gets distracted, then I open one Vedabase link, right? Somewhere here and there, something. I'm just saying. So not that every 20 minutes I do it, but yeah, once in a while I keep doing it during the day. Okay, so that is my way of revising something, or being bringing some more, what do I say, like I engage my mind again, but not all the time I do that. Yeah, so that's one practical way. Maybe in our mobile also we can check, right? Mobile anyway, we keep looking every half an hour or so, right? So maybe in mobile we can check database or some other things, right? That is one way, but that looks like quite big standard. So other things are like, it is mentioned that if our morning program is very good, like our japa is very good, and that's 16 rounds. And if we have either read or heard some lecture, listened some lecture, right, for even half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever is the time, but then that gives us actually some remembrance throughout the day. Not like a full-time sannyasi, definitely not like that, but definitely some undercurrent is there actually. Yeah, means, see, if we are engaged into some occupation, right, we are not full-time devotee, we are not in Kevala sadhana bhakti level, right, then definitely our mind will get fully engaged into some occupational thing, which is natural. And for Arjuna also, Krishna didn't uh, expect, of course Arjuna is like a eternal associate, that's another angle, but when he is focusing on shooting arrow targeted on some opposing fighter, right? So at that moment, he would naturally concentrate on that particular thing, right? How to shoot arrow, right? So that particular moment, again, Arjuna is different. He might still be remembering Krishna, but I'm just saying, when, for example, I'm writing code, right? At that moment, naturally, my mind will be fully occupied in that, right? But if we have done our basic sadhana properly, then Krishna takes care. In the sense, let's suppose someone, to give concrete example, I'm taking it little far. That let's suppose someone someone suffers cardiac arrest, right? Heart attack is different, cardiac arrest is different. Suddenly, it can be sudden without any notice, right? Krishna takes care. If someone has performed his, obligated sadhana properly, then Krishna takes care out of his own sweet will. He ensures that the devotee is able to remember Krishna, not by our endeavor. So, as long as we are not in Kevala sadhana bhakti level, we have to just depend on our regular sadhana process, and that part we have to do nicely. So rest of the thing, Krishna he knows how to take us gradually closer to him. But simple answer is, as long as we have some occupation during those crucial moments, we will be fully focused on those occupational thing, not on Krishna bhakti, not on Krishna 24 hours. That's not practical or possible. But having performed our sadhana nicely, Krishna will take care of the rest.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Hare Krishna.
In between, we can keep on checking mobile. Like every hour, we can definitely spend 2-3 minutes on some database page, something here and there. Yeah, that's one practical thing. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Jai.
Hare Krishna. ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की